So this is a snow water recovery system, and here you can see it's actually running near boiling. This has just been on the stove continuously for actually a few days. I use it for hot running water, just like having that instant hot water heater. It's in my camper trailer, but obviously this pushes a pretty big volume of water. I'd say it's like 8 gallons or so. And one of the things that this allows for is, apart from anything that would involve hot water and recovering snow water, is that if I'm doing any kind of coffee, tea, soup, anything like that, it can all come out of this. Snow is going to be pretty pure water. And again, you're boiling it, so if there's any possibility of something in there, it's boiled snow. You can't get much more clear, pure than that. Oddly enough, I do have a little sediment in the container, but again, that's stainless steel. The pickup isn't exactly on the bottom, so when I pour the water here, it seems to not be getting through, and I check it in glass. So tomorrow I'm traveling again and setting up lunch. You've seen my other little video reviews on these Stanley Thermos jars. You can look through the rest of my channel and see that, but basically other people have done the things on Thermos Cooking, but what I did was I got this little thing of Bear Creek minestrone soup. I put that in these roughly halfway. The ratio that they do for this on the instructions is that this makes a half gallon. These things are under a quart each, so you got to fudge factor it a little bit. The other thing I'm finding that to make any kind of an Italian thing, a minestrone thing, is adding some sauce to these really helps it out. And a big thing about dehydrated soup is, you spruce it up a little bit. A little olive oil, a little vinegar. Now, one of the neat ways you can add tomato to this, and that's long-term storage, is canned V8. Okay, now these are outside and frozen, but you can buy these in cases. It's relatively shelf-stable. It's not going to last as long as your 10-year storage life food, but usually, I'm looking at this on the bottom. It's probably not coming through on the camera, but I bought this earlier in the year, and it says 2014. And like a lot of people say, you can take canned food a little longer. It's just there's some saleability, marketability items. But the idea is that this wasn't thought out when I made it. So I can go a couple of days without boiling water in that stuff. But this is probably all going to get eaten tomorrow. Drink the soup down a little bit, add the canned V8, makes the rest of it pretty hearty. A couple of ways I can go. The other way I can go, if I have another thermos that is doesn't have any food in it, right? It's a narrow neck thermos, Stanley thermos, and just have that full of the boiling water, and that's going to stay pretty hot for a day. Okay, after that it's going to cool off. But again, if you have one of these water recovery systems, it's from a beer brew keg, it's one of the options you have. The other option that's really good for feeding a larger group of people, let's say you get working parties together and you're trying to get lunches for people. You tend to want to have a good beginning of the day meal at the lodge or the survival retreat, whatever you want to call it. Have a good hearty beginning of the day meal, and then throughout the work day, people are going to be out doing work, right? Because if it's a long-term survival situation, you're trying to get this place to be self-sufficient for everybody involved, and your kitchen staff may be busy with other stuff in the middle of the day or just getting ready for the big dinner. So one of the ways you do lunch is you have the cans of the Algerson Farm or other soup mix type things. Bear Creek is good for day-to-day use. The thing about long-term survival is these packages aren't going to last years and years. Okay, number 10 cans like the Algerson Farm stuff will last longer. It's just sometimes the menu recipes aren't quite as deluxe as the Bear Creek stuff. But the idea is that as long as you've got the giant pot of boiling water going more or less continuously with your snow melt, then you're going to have an equally never-ending supply of the soups, the coffees, the hot teas, and all these things that can be ready to go. and pretty quickly. I mean, if I were trying to get 20 people through here, where people are just going across a chow line where they fill their cup with, you know, whatever the soup and stew of choice is, and then run hot water and seal it up as they go, I can get a 20-person chow line handled pretty quickly with something like this. And of course the freeze-dried food. And they're not going to pig out on the spot, because it's going to take probably a couple hours for that soup mix to reconstitute inside of one of these sealed vacuum containers. And so this is just one of many recipes a person can put together. Minister in a soup, the boiling water, the V8 juice will go in a little bit later. And I didn't leave room for it. So what would happen is you drink it down a little bit and then add the V8 juice for the last course. And that's, you know, a relatively hearty little traveling meal, not very expensive. The big deal is testing the recipes and working with this stuff for the long-term food storage of being able to function off-grid, which this entire system, because it's based on wood burning, will go off-grid.